Hello everybody, guess who's back? Torazan. Hey, you've been wondering where I've been, right? Well, check this out. As a healer, you need to venture out into the world. You cannot be stuck in the city or stuck with what you know. You have to leave, grab your passport, and go into the world and see what it has to offer you. And traveling doesn't always mean it has to be costly. Sometimes you have to literally announce to your ancestors and tell them what it is that you're trying to achieve and help them guide you along your journeys as to which destination you end up at, what it is that you're going to do there, what is it that you're going to find, who's going to receive you when you get across the border into whichever country or place you find yourself in. But always strive to become bigger and better, in the sense that if I am Betty and I only know Muti that's in the Betty culture, then I will be very limited to only what is taught to me by my group, you know. So venture out into the world, learn what Shanganis actually use in terms of healing maybe the same sickness that you are now a master at. Learn what Zulus use, learn about how different other healers are able to practice, and come back with all the information that you have, mix them together based on the information that you have, grow and expand in terms of your knowledge that you have based on immunity, how to administer help, how to run your practices. I don't say copy, but go along finding the information so that you can also individualize your work. Create a uniqueness about yourself. Celebrate the fact that you work differently, but always have a pure and clean heart in terms of your intention when helping someone. Torazani, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another great and exciting episode of Gogo Moyo Speaks, and of course, Ngisen Dumbeni, and I am your host with the most, Gogo Moyo. And today we're going to be talking about a very interesting topic that a lot of people may have different ideas about or may not come to an understanding over because of the many different cultural influences that we have over Umsamo. Well, today the topic is Umsamo. So, what is Umsamo, you may ask? Well, it's an Nguni word of a special and sacred space in a hut, in a home that is exclusively built for the communication with ancestors. Umsamo is basically a prayer place where you would house your ancestors and you would come to that space to present offerings or to burn incense or to ignite a conversation with your ancestors. You can decorate that space any way you feel is necessary for you in terms of your expression and your appreciation of your ancestors, whether you put ancestral cloths, photographs of people who have crossed over and have since passed away. You can use very special sentimental pieces that you know come from a certain communication that you've had with the people while they were still alive, like an heirloom. There's a lot of things that you can use in that space, particularly as speaking to the people that you'll be housing in this space. Many people have their own preferences as to where to place Umsamo. Some put them inside their homes, in a kitchen area or a corner of a room somewhere where there's low traffic, and some prefer to make literally a separate room for to house their ancestors. Some people use outside their homes, in the garden, by a tree stump, by a very massive tree. It's very specific to you and your cultural beliefs and how it's been done previously. That's how you get to decide where you place Umsamo. And also, something that's very important about your structuring of Umsamo is you don't just erect a place or a shrine where you're going to communicate with them, but you have to start by fetching your ancestors. Some people fetch them from their initial homesteads where they were born and raised. Some fetch them from the veld, which in essence is no man's land. Some people go to rivers and they would use a plain white cloth to go and take their snuff and communicate with their ancestors at the specific places I've just mentioned, and go have the conversation where they invite amadlozi to come into their home. Something in the form of, Thokozani bokokolo boragolo, I'm here to fetch you so that I can take you back to my place. I've since bought a new house. I would like to invite you into the home that I am staying in. Right? And you would take this cloth and you would move it from point A to point B. Point B being where now you're going to literally create this space for amadlozi, and you're going to pray, phahla, and meditate there. You also need to cleanse the space before you start by creating umsamo, because the environment needs to be clean. The energies must be light, must be good, must be welcoming for your ancestors. And also in that light, you can visit a healer to be able to assist you with that particular process. There may or may not be offerings that are specific to erecting umsamo. Again, this is largely based on cultural belief and the history of how your elders have been going about erecting imisamo to begin with. So you would do what they do naturally at your home under the same language group that you're in, and that would be more specific to you and your ancestors, and it would make the transition a lot easier. What is umsamo used for? So you could go to your Umsamo when you would like to communicate with your ancestors regarding specific and many different things. Whether it's to announce that you would like to perform a traditional ceremony in your home and ask for more details as to how they would like that to happen. You can also ask for good luck, good fortune, for good health, for protection in your family, for yourselves and your loved ones. When you get to Umsamo, there's a variety of things that you can use in terms of your communication tools, and it's all very different and specific to the cultural backgrounds and the heritages that we have and our lineages. And for instance, you would be able to use snuff, impepo, BB being tobacco, a different form of tobacco, and you may use candles, you may use umqombothi, Western wines, alcohol from Western times, and that will speak to the different kinds of ancestors that you would also be trying to reach out to. It could also be your grandfather's favorite drink that you could use in that space. You're not limited to using only the things that I have mentioned, but it's all very much based on what your family has taught you previously in terms of how to communicate with your ancestors. There are ways in which you can use imisamo negatively, and that is when a part of your family, maybe an individual, is power hungry and wants to be a big influence in the family and wants to gain great power. So then they would go to Umsamo and would want to turn those good ancestors into bad ones. Now wanting to use the dead people, your ancestors, to gain power and control over people that are living and the circumstances of the world currently. Those ancestors can now become very negative towards the family and provide, or rather create, a lot of bad luck for the family, because this is not done with a good energy but using bad muti and bad energies. So once this is done, a lot of the people in the home, whenever they would try to access Umsamo and ask for good things, in the negative of that, the opposite of that would happen to them, because then they will be flooded with like negativity, many deaths in the family, and a lot of things wouldn't go right versus the narrative that they would say when they get to Umsamo asking for protection, peace, love, light, and happiness. And when that happens, there has to be a specific ceremony that is performed to appease the ancestors for this particular ceremony that was done by this individual. It is very much believed that if this person carries on doing so, then it could result in death for him, because he's being more persistent in using dark energy on good ancestors. And only a traditional healer can help with administering the cleansing ceremony to appease the ancestors for this heinous crime that would have been performed on Umsamo. If you are a Sangoma and you would like to erect your own Umsamo, for a Sangoma, Umsamo is referred to as Gogo, and that is a place that is highly respected and sacred because it will house all the ancestors which are on your person, which you work for, which you have since twasad, right? Or rather, gone through the initiation of Uktwasa for. Back in the day, there only used to be one specific person, usually a male elder, the eldest, right, who would be able to speak on your behalf, Umsamo. Almost like I would have to get my grandfather to come with me, Umsamo, to narrate my kind of conversation that I would want to have, make the pardons for me, make the requests for me, etc. But now we find that ancestors are a whole lot more demanding and have very specific requests, and sometimes they purely need me as myself as an entity to go to speak to them on my own without having to include other people. Also, our families also tend to be untrustworthy at times, and what happens then if you send a particular person who's appointed to be the headmaster of Umsamo, but you are unaware that this person has now crossed over to using bad magic and imiti that's bad and bad energy towards Umsamo, and now this person is now responsible for your requests and your pardons? That wouldn't be a good position to be in. So Amadlozi have evolved in allowing us the flexibility and the freedom to be able to approach these spaces on our own, knowing that it also builds our own characters because you have your own personal experience and you get the education behind getting to know the language of how to speak to Amadlozi respectfully and taking that craft very seriously. There will be times when you go seek counsel from a traditional healer, a Sangoma or a prophet, and they could tell you that Amadlozi are struggling to find a home in terms of they're wandering out in the wilderness and they are not placed anywhere in terms of a homestead where they feel like they belong and are accepted. A large group of people take this narrative very literally and want to now start building a separate building next to their homes to house your ancestors, and sometimes it doesn't require for that much action to happen. Sometimes you don't even have that much space in your homestead, or you're renting, or etc. So how then will you be able to erect the structure to house your ancestors? There's no need. Particularly what's most important is for you to create Umsamo in an environment where you can announce to your ancestors and for them to know that they are acceptable and they have a home that they can come to. And that's in part of how you present it to them. Sometimes you may need to slaughter and sometimes you may not. It depends on the strictness of Amadlozi wako. And everyone knows Amadlozi way to our family. You know, our ancestors are not the same and they won't require for us to do the same action that someone else had to do. Sometimes we have to solve for previous generational curses that we as the people who are alive have created because we were not listening to our ancestors. And what someone else needs to do to dispel those previous curses may not be something that I have to do as a person of this generation and time. So I will just need to maybe just erect or cleanse the already existing Umsamo and be able to build on from there. Our responsibilities are not the same. What our ancestors are going to request from us are not going to be the same. We have to be able to be free-flowing, seek counsel from our traditional healers, our guides as well, and they will be the ones to tell us and advise how far along are we in creating these environments, how happy they are, if they were able to settle in okay, etc. So be mindful of when you are creating these spaces, because you're not just doing it to solve an issue for yourself. You could also find that you're someone who's struggling to get into a committed relationship. You're struggling to settle down in your life and become a responsible adult. You may find that you're struggling with quite a lot of things that are affecting you in your adult life, and maybe there's a lot of that is pertaining and linked to the fact that there is no prayer place, no Umsamo, no sacred space where you can be able to allow your spirituality to grow and ignite the fire that's inside of you. We have to evolve, and the world that we live in may not always be conducive for the type of people that we are, being as spiritual as we are. So we have to take into account that we have to create these places so that they can also take care and feed into our spirituality and our intuitiveness. And I would like to say a humble apology for being MIA. I know a lot of you guys really like to watch Lesedisangoma, and I absolutely appreciate each and every one of you guys. And yes, I'm back on now, and every second Friday I'll be putting up a new video. And please do leave comments in the comment section. Talk about your experiences in Umsamo. What kind of weird and wonderful things have you seen or learned about them? Do you have one in your own home? Would you like to create one? You know, just share with me anything towards Umsamo yenu and how it has actually worked for you. I know from a personal experience, I've got 3 actually. I've got 2 Indumba Ezitu being my practicing huts where I help people from, and there's one which is my maternal and one is my paternal. So for each one I represent both these families separately, and then there was one that was created before even I went to go get initiated. So there's the main one, which is like the homestead one. Anyone can go to at any given time. There's no control over there, unlike Ndumeni, which is my space. For someone to come into it, they usually pass it by me first. I don't ever say no, but it's just something that's courteous to do because it's in my space. But my dad never enters my mom's Ndumba, my mom's family Ndumba. My mom will never enter my dad's family Ndumba, because it's 2 different people, it's 2 different families, and each one has their own place to retreat to. If there's something that they jointly want to speak about, they go to the main one, you know. So there's a lot of evolution that goes into creating these spaces. It solves for very specific needs that people have. So don't try look over your neighbor's wall or ask about your friend what she or he has in his space. Create what's specific to you. Speak to the inner sense of who you are, and that's in essence what's going to make you come alive and make you have a better communication. Welcome. Thank you for tuning into this episode of Lesedisangoma, and I hope you absolutely enjoyed having me back on your screen. I'll be back full time. Something that you have to be mindful of about Umsamo is it's not supposed to be a scary place. If anything, invite your family, extend it to other people. Teach other people how to use that space. Grow in your comfortability. And there is no specific time of the day when you can actually go and retreat to that space. Whenever your heart is open and you feel like you have something that you communicate, whether it's to share a dream that you had last night or it's to ask a new specific question, open up your mind and your heart and be able to start the conversations that you are always going to other people for, such as traditional healers, prophets, or any other person who you seek counsel from. No longer take it to them. Try internalize things and get them to specifically answer your own questions firsthand. This is what other people have done with their own spaces. Check out this slideshow. Thank you for tuning into this episode, and thank you so much for leaving your comments and for the private messages asking me where I am, what I'm up to, and that you guys miss me. I absolutely missed you guys too. I have come to realize that I'm actually fond of making these videos and sharing a bit of my world with you guys. And thank you so much for allowing me into your homes, for buying the data, for sharing my posts, and for, you know, helping me grow the community that I've made. And yeah, Togozan.